Welcome everyone to this podcast. It's going to be a podcast about traveling and about stories. Not mine directly, but stories about other people that have shared it on Reddit. Mainly I'm gonna tell stories about people that shares their own stories on Reddit. And it's gonna be stories about solo backpacking, solo travel, or sometimes traveling with other people, and sometimes funny stories, some other times a little bit more like surprising one about what you were expecting and what really happened. And I think that's nice to listen a little bit to those stories, to have your own opinion, and to also be prepared for your own travel when you will be traveling to this place, or just when you will be traveling with other people, that you be a bit more prepared that sometimes things may not happen the way you want it to be. It's just the way it is, and having those stories there may help you a little bit with that. So I've chosen some stories that I've already read that can be interesting, some others that I haven't, so it's going to be a discovery for me as well. I think we have somehow 7-8 stories, and let's start with this first one, crazy hotel story. So this one I don't know, so let's see how it goes. Got to my hostel super late at night due to some issues with my transportation. My third time staying at one. Don't really like talking to other roommates. Just use it to cheap storage and bed since I'm out most of the day during my travels. That makes sense if you want to, at least for just now, if you want to save money. Most of the time you have shared bedrooms where you have like a single bed and you have maybe 8 other people in the same room. It can be a little bit crazy sometimes, and other times really chill. But I guess on this one it's not gonna be very chill. I don't know. Anyway, it's at 8-bed mixed hostel, so yeah, with the other occupants being 2 big male American friends, 2 male Norwegian friends, and a girl and a guy from Korea, guessing siblings. Anyway, after quietly getting into my bunk and passing out quickly due to my early day, I get woken up abruptly due to wheeling at about 6 a.m. It's not nice. Apparently, the Norwegian guy had come later into the night than me, and one of them was super drunk. At some point, he started to vomit. Oh my god, that's really not nice, this. And it got all over the Americans' possessions below their bunk, and maybe a little on their clothes. When the Americans woke up, I guess they went ballistic, and that's what woke me. The drunk Norwegian was flat on his ass, and the other was trying his best to apologize and calm the Americans, who seemed ready to beat both their asses. The Koreans, who had also woken up from this, tried to step away from the conflict, while also checking to see if any vomit got on their belongings. That's really not nice from the Norwegian guy. At some point, staff came in, but they couldn't really calm the Americans, who were still trying to corner the lone semi-sober Norwegian. Eventually, they did calm down, but seemed to be ready to try to extort the Norwegians for compensation. That makes a little bit of sense. By that time, I was already out there after making sure my belongings were fine. Got breakfast since I hadn't eaten the day before, and then proceed to get fucked up in Germany. Weird. Overall, a good story to remember. Yeah. Well, sometimes that's the small problem when you share rooms with strangers. Most of the times, I'm just having this example in Southeast Asia, that you have many hostels with, most of the time, share bedrooms, because it's the cheapest way to sleep and also to meet people. It's like in hostels where you have most chances to meet other people your age and to make some good friendships, which is quite nice. But the whole mood of people going to bedrooms like that, to share bedrooms, doing travels with friends, this way is most of the time to party a little bit, or even a lot, and to drink also. So it's not the first time I'm hearing those kind of stories where this one is really bad. It really had a bad ending most of the time. Sometimes you just like the one that do some hikes during the day and just go in the bed early, but you will have people that will come back late, drunks, and because they are drunks a little bit, they don't have the references of how loud their voices are, how noise they make by walking around and messing around with their stuff and laughing also. So sometimes it's okay, some other times it's like really like annoying, and that's part of travels, cheap travels, let's say. So yeah, let's see if we have some comments related to those kind of stories. I hacked up Acatenango in Guatemala. Actually, I'm gonna do that very soon, so that's interesting. We spent a night at the top after hours of hiking up in the rain. It was freezing and everyone was wet and miserable. I hope it's not gonna rain for me. One of the guys, I don't remember his nationality, on the top bunk threw up on a Scottish, maybe Welsh, guy's bag in the middle of the night, and the other guy was pissed in the morning. Makes sense also. He was also a pretty big and fit dude. He woke us up around 5:30 by slamming the doors a few times and asking who the fuck vomited on his backpack. Hello, I'm awake. Now you're gonna fucking let through. Now fuck the bag. Now fuck the one fucking your clothes, mate. Yeah. I hope I'm imitating well the Welsh accent. I'll make them for lick and clean, mate, vomit on fucking bag. Yeah. Anyway, this sort of shit is just part of rooming with a bunch of people in their early 20s. Exactly. That's part of the travel, and it's just never nice to, I'd say, to be in the lower bed of a bunk. So just always be up there. Guatemala is probably the coolest country. Yeah. Sounds like I stayed in Bratislava in the White Elephant Hostel. So yeah, the craziest story I remember with a laughing hide was an Australian guy in Buenos Aires. He'd already stood out in the evening by telling us that a taxi driver tossed cocaine at him during a ride, so of course he had to take it there. It's 3 a.m. Suddenly the lights fly on as the guy runs in and dives under his blanket and hides there. He's quickly followed by hostel security, who somehow knew that he partially dressed guy in the one dorm that had lights on was the person he's looking for. Through the angry shooting of the guard, he put together that the guard has snuck in a girl. No visitors after midnight were the rule for probably this exact reason. And since the room was full, they were doing it in the bathroom, but they went at it too hard and broke the toilet. Okay, well, that's some stories, which causes the guard to come and investigate. I don't know if they found the girl or if she managed to hide until the morning. Yeah, well, that's the kind of story to broke the toilet because you make it up in the bathroom. Okay, well, comment sections are always a little bit more crazy than expected. So yeah, there is no like moral of the story, but just to know that that happens, those kind of things, and you just have to be careful with your belongings and who is in your room. Sometimes you have to be careful with that. So yeah, I'm just gonna take 2-minute pause to check something with the settings, and I'm coming back. Okay, there I am. And yeah, let's continue. So yeah, the crazy hotel story. That was this one. Okay, let's go for another one. For backpackers and budget bros, the art of suffering for savings. I traveled all over Southeast Asia for months, always making sure I had enough money or an online income to stay comfortable. That's also something very important. When you travel, most of the time in Southeast Asia is the cheapest region to travel and making a lot of activities, while Africa or South America, it's a little bit more expensive. Along the way, I met plenty of backpackers, and I gotta be honest, these people are allergic to spending money. Except, of course, when it comes to alcohol and cigarettes, then suddenly budgets don't exist. Well, that's kind of the spirit a little bit in backpackers in Southeast Asia, to try to save, just like sleeping in bedrooms, but also like really deciding which activities to do because you really are on a budget. They'll spend months crammed into hostels, even though Airbnbs are dirt cheap. They'll endure 15 plus hours bus rides, sweating through the backpacks just to save $20 or $40 on a 1 hour flight. That's true, but that's also something to take into account, is that sometimes when you take the local way, like buses or boats, this nice vibe of I'm doing a little bit like the locals and I'm seeing what it's like. I'm doing that. I have the money for both, but I sometimes prefer to take the bus to see how it is and to see like what it's like to travel just like on a bus or in the roads. Like also when you took the bus, you can see more landscapes which you don't really see in a flight. And also because I have a drone with me and cameras, etc., I sometimes prefer to use the bus rather than the plane, because planes with securities and drones and batteries, you never know how security may react. You really never know. So far so good, no problem, but you never know. So just to save $20 or $40 on a 1 hour flight. And then complaint about how the country is not developed enough. If you hang out with them, good luck finding things to do, because if it costs money, they'd rather sit in a park and talk about finding themselves. That's why I ended up befriending the locals, because even though they make less money, they are generous. That's there is a part of truth there, at least that's his point of view, and I think most of people that would travel in Southeast Asia or in South America, but right now it's like on the thread of Vietnam. A lot of people like to travel to see other surroundings, to see other landscapes and people and cultures, and sometimes that's a way of healing, a way of stepping back from your own problem, and that's where the finding themselves is about. But that's a little bit of a shame when those people find themselves, which is good, but don't do much activities in the country to see what the country is like, what they can learn from the countries, like paid museums or paid like activities to see a little bit more, rather than just staying in the hostel. So for that, he's kind of right. And it's not just backpackers. This extreme budgeting mentally is genetic in some European countries, Germany, Sweden, Denmark, some of the richest places on earth, yet their citizens still live like they're rationing supplies for World War II mode. Just admit it, some of you enjoy suffering. Well, I guess there's some part of happiness in suffering. And well, that's his point of view. I'm not sure the last paragraph, it makes a lot of sense. But on a general part, you'll meet a lot of people like that when you'll be traveling, and it's not bad. They have their own budget and they want to prioritize alcohol and cigarettes rather than other things, which it's a little shame, but at least they're already traveling, rather than staying at the place and smoking and drinking. At least they're doing that somewhere else, which for me gives a little bit of not legitimacy, but at least they're doing something. They're meeting people, they're discovering new landscape, and I think that's already really, really good for the mental health, for the happiness. But if you want to go a step further, maybe you can lower those addiction, the smoking and the drinking. 1 beer, sometimes 2 times with the sunsets isn't too bad. But rather than just having a lot of partying, to discover the cultures that from the country you're traveling to, that's really something nice. And after, you will have many more stories to tell about. So yeah. Let's go for another story, and this one, it's not feeling myself while backpacking. Yeah. Not feeling myself while backpacking. Just wondering if there's anyone that's been through this. But I've been traveling for about 2.5 months now, out of 5 months trip in total. I've been to 4 amazing countries in Southeast Asia and seen and experienced some of the most amazing things. However, I feel like there have been quite a few downsides of traveling around that have recently just really overwhelmed me. I do feel like social media makes traveling backpacking seem easy, and that it's an experience that allows you to grow and be more confident. Most of the case, it is. At least for me, that's a nice way for me to be more confident and just experience amazing things. However, I have got no confidence at all in terms of liking who I am, and what I look like. Being around so many different types of people, I can't help but compare myself. Also, I've got no routine and struggle to work out and keep myself in shape while doing my traveling. I feel sometimes people don't approach me and gravitate towards my friend that I'm traveling with, which in turn makes me less confident. Well, there's already a lot to say about those phrases, but yeah, the more you meet people and the more you are prone to compare yourself. That's just a way of human beings, but it's also a way of human beings to just control your thoughts. You don't have to compare yourself, but you can be inspired by them, actually, to see how local people, I'm just taking the example of you traveling to another country, you're meeting local people from your age that may already have work and may already have nice activities, and you feel envious. Well, you can, instead of being jealous, you can be envious and getting inspired by them and trying to have kind of the same routine, to learn a little bit from them. I think it's a good thing to compare yourself, but it's a bad thing to compare to yourself in a negative way. You can say that, well, what I'm trying to say is that it's nice to learn from the others, and yeah, that you, well, I'm losing a little bit my thoughts right now, because I find it a little bit weird to compare yourself like that. That's something that happens in everyone at some degrees, but this is mostly like thoughts that you have just to calm, because it's a bit nonsense to compare yourself like that. And about the no routine workout, that's something that I've struggled also, and that many people struggle when you traveling for many times, for like 2.5 months, and he's gonna travel for 5 months. You have to have a certain workout routine, and that's a little bit tricky, because when you're traveling, you have, let's say, 4 days in this place, and after you're traveling and you're having 4 days in this one, and after 3 days in this one, and so all those 4 days and 3 days are already packed with activities and stuff you want to do, and sometimes you prioritize things to see rather than body health, like workout or reading. And that's the tricky part, is that you have to be ready to say to yourself that, okay, out of those 4 days here, I'll take 1 day workout. Out of those 4 days here, I've already worked out there, so okay, I'm gonna read here, I'll take some time for me to relax. And out of those 3 days on the next city, I will do a workout again. So you still have to include routines that you were doing in your country that you have to do also when you travel. Otherwise, that's not sustainable for your body, not at all. But that's complex because you have a tight schedule and you want to do many things every day. But you have to do many things every day, discovering the cities and the country, but you also have to do something for your bodies. Otherwise, you're not going to be happy, you're not going to keep it correctly, and it's not going to be nice. So every time you travel, you have to plan, you have to still think that this is kind of a normal way of living. I still have to do some workouts. And yeah, I feel sometimes people don't approach me and gravitate towards my friend that I'm traveling with, which in turn makes me feel less confident. Well, this is also about like the mindset, and I would say this behavior may also happen in the daily life at your own country. So it's not about traveling, but it's more about how you act in a group and what your skills, your social skills, that's something that you can learn too. And the more you learn about it, and the more confident you feel about it. And it's okay to not speak a lot in every group social gathering, but it's I think important to be able to. And for that, these books you can read too, but it's not about traveling directly. It's not related to that, it's much related to the person directly. If you don't feel like, I would guess 90% that this person would also have this same problem at its own country. It's just from the person, not from the traveler. I'm starting to worry about when I return home and if I'll be able to find a job. That's something common in everyone's traveling for a long time. I've also developed really bad health-related anxiety that I struggle with most days. It's all overwhelming. This is part of the workout. If you have a good healthy habits over days to days, normally you won't have this anxiety. Essentially, after 2.5 months mark, I feel like I've lost myself a bit and mentally struggling to keep myself positive, even though I'm surrounded by such beautiful places. I start to doubt myself that this is really the right thing that I should be doing. I think maybe the whole traveling thing doesn't feel like how I thought it would. Well, I think traveling like that really put on the side all the job, all the family, and you are really with yourself, and you are with people that don't know you, and you're just like remaking friendships, representing you to people, and that way you can see how you really are, how you're really acting. And that's, I think, one of the best way to see how it's like, because you've done it in your own country long time ago with your friends, with your family, but you didn't do it since a long time. So when you travel, you really see what's your social skills, what you think about yourself, what your mindset, and I think that's really nice, because this way you can after think about, okay, I'm not really good at talking with people in a social group, so maybe I should work on that. Or yeah, I feel very anxious at night, so maybe I should do something. Okay. And those kind of things that you maybe won't see when you have a normal life with the work, the day-to-day work, etc. in your country. While when you're traveling, you see this, it's more exacerbated, and that's kind of good because you can work on that if you want. If you're not, you may gonna still be in this spiral, and that's a little bit sad. But that's why traveling is so good, because you have much more time for you. Much more, even if much more is a good expression, but you have more time for you, and you can leverage this time and all this new perspective on yourself. So I think this guy have some work to do, but it's on the good path, I would say. It just has to do some work. But yeah, that's a feeling that people can feel, can have. I just hope that if you have it, just be conscious that you will have to work a little bit on those things, and you have to take some actions. But it doesn't mean it's bad. Actually, it means that now you have some purpose and you have things to do. So yeah. I think when people say that traveling makes you more confident, I believe they're referring to the fact that you learn to trust yourself more, not exactly your looks or aesthetics. Yeah. I love traveling more than anything in life, but I recently discovered that 3 months is my limit. Traveling is just like anything else in life. Too much of it is kind of exhausting physically and mentally. That's true. If you do 4 days there, 4 days there, 3 days there, it's difficult to keep this pace. So if you plan to travel a long period of time, 3 months, 4, 5, a year, you can do those 3, 4 days, 5 days there, but it should be like in a small amount of time. And after you stay longer in some place. You can do like 3 days, 4 days, 3 days, and after you take 2 weeks in a place to relax, to really feel yourself at home, and to after continue somewhere else. And this way it's super nice. But if you do 5 months of traveling, backpacking, with 3 days there, and there, the amount of time you have to unpack, pack, that you have to take bus, planes, this is not sustainable. This is a pace that you feel exhausted after, for sure. Also, having expectations ruin everything. Traveling is not a magic pill that you take to discover yourself and everybody around you. Social media portrays everything the wrong way. However, traveling truly changes you, and you won't notice those changes until you get home, because it's a very slow process. And he's right. First of all, expectations ruins everything. It's nice to prepare your travel, to hope that you will see this, this and that, but if you really hope and plan everything around one activity, you may gonna feel disappointed. Unless everything's went perfectly well, which is good, but most of the time it won't. So don't put too much expectation on what you're about to see, on what you think you will feel, but just have a glimpse of it. And and yeah, he's right about the slow process. This is something that after, once you come back to your travel, you may notice things differently. You may see things in another way that you used to. And I think that's a good thing. I think you see the thing in a better way, or in a new way. So you have the old way, the new way, and the more you travel or the more you think about it, and you have new perspective, which is really nice. My tip for you is to slow down, have more cheat days. Exactly. If you feel overwhelmed. If that doesn't work, then maybe it's time to go home. Yeah, just take slow days, chill somewhere, go to some coffees, take the sun, don't do a lot of things, just chill. There's something also that are important, I think we will finish on that, is that when we are in our country, in our day-to-day life, we having a lot of time in our room, in some places, but in our room or in our home where we watch videos, where we watch movies. Those times are very calm times because we are doing nothing, so our body is relaxing and we can process everything that happened a little bit before, during the day or the previous days, weeks. And when we're traveling, we don't have this small habit of calming down, like really relaxing yourself for 2 hours there and just doing nothing, watching a movie or reading a little bit, or just not being on your phone, because on the phone you're still doing something, you're learning new stuff, informations, not being with other people or friends, because that can be a little bit exhausting, but just being like with yourself. And this when you travel, you don't do it that much. Maybe you do, and that's good, but for this kind of person, for this kind of people, that's something you have to take into account. Okay, do I have enough calm moments to relax? Because if you take a bus every 3 days of 6 hours, that's really exhausting for the body, for the mind as well. So you have to take those days to chill a little bit. And let me see a little bit the amount of time, but I think we're good. $37. Right, good. Oh yeah. Yes. So yeah, I think that will be all for this podcast, at least for this episode. I hope you've liked it. I will continue to make new podcasts about reading stories. I like it to read stories about other people and to tell you a little bit things around it. And if you plan a trip, just basically like that, if you plan a trip but you're not really sure how to plan it, if you are a little bit anxious about various things that you have in mind, just so you know, I'm doing like 3 call sessions with you and me where we can discuss about your planned travel and why it's not yet booked. So with that, I can help you with my experience as solo traveler and backpacking traveler, and it's totally free. And so I'm just trying to help more people to travel, because I think that's one of the best way to live, more or less, to just travel more, to feel more happier, to discover more cultures and meet more people. And if you're struggling with that, with the fact of, travel is not for me, no, it is for you, it is for everyone. So I'm doing some free session that you can check in the description. Normally I've put a link, and I'm free to have some session with you. So see you on the next one, and hope you have some nice day since then. Ciao, ciao, guys.